This is the $480,000 Lamborghini Aventador Roadster, a poster car if there ever was one. And for all but a few hundred lucky souls this year, such a machine will remain a poster car, unattainable in reality, yet a constant reminder on our walls of what we would drive if we had all the money in the world and gave exactly zero f***s. But you really can't appreciate a car like the Aventador, or even the word supercar for that matter, until you get behind the wheel of the car for which the word supercar was invented, the Countach. Now, in the interest of accuracy, supercar was a term coined for the original 1974 Countach LP5000, and the one I'm driving today is a later 1988 model 5000 Quattro valve. But if I'm honest, this is the best of the bunch. Gold magnesium phone dial wheels? Check. Big wing? Check. Fender flares and US bumper delete? Oh yeah. It's ridiculous in every way, an uncompromising, insane tribute to sheer speed at all costs. If you ask me, it's perfect.
It's got a 5.2-liter V12 engine, 4 valves per cylinder, 26,000 original kilometers, and it is just the greatest thing ever. The original owner of this car was famous Lamborghini tuner Albertoni, who put one of his custom exhausts on it, and it sounds fucking fantastic if you ask me. This car makes 420 horsepower, and that's because it has the US spec Bosch Jetronic fuel injection. The Euro cars of the same year made 460 horsepower because they were using Weber carburetors. The clutch is very heavy, the shifter is very heavy. The brakes are 4-wheel disc and they are moderately effective. I can't wear shoes, but the pedals are great for heel towing barefoot. It's crazy because even though there's no rear visibility, the front and side visibility is great. These A-pillars are really thin, and even though the shifter is very stiff and you gotta muscle it around, it's gated, so it's just this satisfying click, 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 click. What I wasn't expecting was the steering is brilliant. No power steering, but the ratio is really nice, the rack is really nice. You don't have to put in any more effort than, say, my DeLorean. 3-point turns suck, but you know. These seats are, they're not meant for a human being, certainly not one of my size, but it's worth it. It's the 80s. The 80s were all about compromise, right? But my whole life, people have been telling me how terrible these things drive. And you know what? They're all wrong. Because while it may be terrible in traffic, while it may be terrible to cruise around LA, up here on Angeles Crest, it's fantastic. The rear tires are 345 35 15s. There were only 2 options for this car in 1985, and this one has both of them. The rear wing, which was $5,000, and the Alpine stereo, which was $7,500. That wing is totally worth $5,000. Some people, there's like these purists out there that think it looks better without the wing. I completely disagree with them. I think the best version of this car is this version, where you have the fender flares, the phone dial wheels, the Euro bumpers, and the wing. Best combination you can get. And you could say, well, yeah, it's terrible to drive around town though. Guess what? So's the Aventador. So are all the new Lambos. Oh, that's nice. But even independent of the nostalgia, it's really nice to drive. The nostalgia makes it even better though. As much as I adore this Countach and would drive it all day long to the detriment of my own spine, I think it's time we hop out of it, hop into the Aventador Roadster, and see what 30 years of progress has done to Lamborghini's V12 supercars.
Don't expect us to be surprised that Lamborghini has come a long way since 1988. In the last 25 years, the V12 has grown by almost 2 liters, gained an entire family sedan's worth of horsepower, spins the front and back wheels, and ditched the gated shifter for paddles. It's also gained nearly half a ton, loads of technology, safety equipment, and lost its roof. But as we can see, it's not lost any of its extravagance from the outside. Does it feel quite so special from behind the wheel? Let's find out.
Left foot brake, right foot gas, and we go. I reviewed the Aventador Coupe on Drive not long ago, and I don't want to say a lot of the same stuff over, wasting your time. So go watch that by clicking this annotation and then come back. I'll wait. And we're back. Okay, here we go. 7-liter V12, 700 horsepower, all-wheel drive, paddle shifters, all the goodies, digital gauges, 8,500 RPM redline, 220 mile an hour top speed, all good things. And here's how it does in the corners. Not so good. And I'll tell you why. It's very heavy. It's over 4,000 pounds. It's 1,000 pounds heavier than the Countach. It's all-wheel drive, and a lot of that weight is in the back. 255s in the front, 355s in the rear. So, strangely, you have to change your driving style for the Aventador. It doesn't want to rotate under power, but it rotates nicely under heavy braking. So you actually kind of have to drive it like a front-wheel drive car, trail braking all the way past the apex and then not feeding in power until you're pointed straight again. But it does have an unbelievable amount of grip at the limit. Once you've got it set, once you've got it going around that corner, tons of grip. So much so that you kind of hold your breath and clench yourself, and that combined with the very heavy steering means that after a few short miles of driving this car, you're kind of out of breath, which is an interesting trait, and not entirely undesirable, mind you. On the other hand, some things are worth compromising for, and a 700 horsepower V12 is one of them. And a funny thing happens when you're driving an Aventador. It's like a circus. Everyone wants to take pictures of you, everyone stares at you, everyone calls at you, but not necessarily for the reasons you want them to. When non-car people look at you, or when women look at you, you're a total bag of shit. Some people want to know how it is that their life is so unfair that you have this and that they don't. There are a couple of truths to this car, and one is that you cannot be an introvert and drive it. You have to be comfortable with everyone staring at you. 2 is that even though it's a supercar with all this horsepower, all this tire and ceramic brakes, it's kind of not what you'd want on a racetrack. You know, a 458 or a 911 or something that's more agile. You know, this car corners well, but it doesn't change direction well. So the first time you go through a canyon, it won't be a very popular opinion, but you'll kind of hate it. You'll go, oh, it plows, it pushes, it's got heavy steering and I can't see. But then you learn to drive for the car, trail braking later into the corner, getting on the power a bit later than you would normally would, and because you have 700 of them, it's okay. and all of a sudden, it gets better. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm making an It Gets Better video for Lamborghini owners. But it is so fast.
Now, don't get me wrong, the Aventador is a very cool car, but it's also a product of the digital age, a gold iPhone 5S on wheels. It's fun to play with and show off to your friends, that is, until the newer, faster, better version comes out. The Countach is as analog as it gets, and therefore is completely timeless. There's no sense that you need to have the latest and greatest in technology. The Countach owner appreciates the old school. And if you want to call a Countach owner, you won't get him on his gold iPhone 5S. If you want him, you'll have to speak to his secretary.